I've been in this cell for a minute. I take responsibility and just say I did it. Wrong place, wrong time, broken couple to that sentence. They tryna give him life, it's his mother he been missing. No one answering the phone, everybody acting different. I just wanna go home, tired of making bad decisions. Just wanna go home, on this case he had a witness. That's my cousin, I won't trade on him for nothing. Keep your head up and dance.
In Birmingham, Alabama. We are Radical Reversal, and what we do is install creative spaces within the Carceral state, right? And today we're actually here at our pilot program, and because it's the end of the year, we wanted to come on location and sort of change the parameters of how we do our podcast and give you a visual, to see who we are and some of the work that we're doing actually inside, Birmingham, for sure. Before we get started, one of the things I want to do is thank some of the sponsors who have been instrumental in, supporting Radical Reversal on this journey of in what we do in terms of putting these creative spaces. Because this is not the only one we have. We have one in Boston at Suffolk County House of Corrections, and then we have one in Minnesota at the Department of Corrections in Faribault, Minnesota, right? So we want to definitely thank the University of New Haven. Also, we have to say thank you to the Creative Capital Foundation grant that we received initially to start this journey, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And also, instrumental in what we do is some of my grant partners, and most notably the Poetry Foundation, who's been very instrumental in understanding what it is that we're trying to do, and has been generous in offering support for each grant cycle. So we definitely want to send a shout out to these organizations and what they do, but also the Minnesota Prison Writing Program, right? Writers Without Margins. These are our collaborative partners, and so we want to thank them all for helping us realize this mission, right? And so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my collaborator. A lot of times because people don't see us, they don't know who we are. And my collaborator is Devin Brahja Waldman, who's a multi-instrumentalist, very talented musician, composer, producer, engineer, and we've just been on this journey. And so I would like to just introduce you to Devin, and Devin, you can say hello, and also talk a little bit about the genesis of Radical Reversal.
Yeah, well, we met, I guess, in 2015.
Exactly.
And we were in another group together.
Yeah.
And then
a musical group, because we perform.
Heroes of Gang Leaders.
Right.
And then in I don't know, 2019 or so, we started planning on Radical Reversal.
Working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was the initial. It was really to start out working together.
Right.
Because we kind of feel like we had a certain synergy, and I think you used to ask me all these questions about what it was like, because for those who don't know, I'm the only full professor in the United States for self-felony conviction. So I'm justice impacted, and I spent time on this side. So you asked me a lot of questions about that, and we started those conversations. Right?
Yeah, well, I had read your book.
Yeah, that's
memoir,
true too. Yeah,
and so
shameless plug.
But yeah, I mean, we had gotten close, and then started talking about making our own album together.
Yeah.
And then we started that, I think, officially 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were talking about performing the music inside various prisons.
Yes, exactly.
And then, but that didn't seem enough.
Right. I was telling people all the time, but
Right.
we were like thinking that was too self-serving. Like we wanted to go further than that,
Yeah.
right?
So then we started talking about, well, let's set up music studios inside prisons.
Mm-hmm.
And permanent
Right.
studios that will
Yeah.
stay there and to work with local people that can run workshops and run the
Exactly.
studios even when we're not around. And so
Yeah.
and then so this was our first one in
Mhm.
spring or summer 2022.
Right. Spring.
Yeah, spring 2022.
You started in spring. Well,
And-
March, what, May? No, it was May. But we
Right.
started sending stuff in April.
Right.
And we came down in May.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's we're in Birmingham, Alabama now.
You're right.
And then the second spot we set up the studio is in Boston,
Yep.
as you mentioned,
Yep.
Suffolk County. And then
Yep.
the third spot so far is in Minnesota, Faribault,
Yeah.
Minnesota. And now we're talking about another studio in
Oregon.
California,
California, Oregon. Yeah.
Connecticut,
Miami.
Miami.
Yeah. We hope to be busy, at some point. We're already busy now. But yeah, I think that was the whole thing, sitting down in the house, your house in New York, and just sort of working it out. We were kind of, what do you say, mothering up without a compass, because there wasn't a blueprint of what we were doing. And I think the only thing, I knew that one of our former bandmates in the other group had just gotten a creative capital grant, right? Janice.
Yeah, Janice.
Janice
Yeah.
Lowe, right?
Yeah.
She's a tremendous and talented composer, pianist, singer, flute player. She's dope. Put it like that. And so Janice had gotten one, so I asked Janice, I was curious, and we ended up applying. And then I remember calling you, I was like, Dave, we got it. And so we started this journey, and we came down here, and we stayed here for like almost 2.5 months, maybe close to 3. May, June. I think we came back the end of July, or the middle of July, something like that.
Right.
But it was definitely a wonderful experience. And one of the things, when we began to do this work, we understood that each of them are going to be different, right? And so I think Birmingham was one experience, right? Then, we went to Suffolk County, and I think we begin to understand, like, if each space is different, has its own set of challenges, because as you know, we were in the space, and we had set up the studio, but we couldn't actually be in the space.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah. Well, there was some delays in actually getting into the studio after we set it up.
Right. For context, we were in the Peace Unit.
Right.
It's inside the Peace Unit, and the Peace Unit works with young students 18 to 23, right? And the idea, the concept was to because they stay there. They're housed inside in a separate unit. And I'm trying to give our listeners some context. And what happened was, because of the staff shortages, after we had installed the studio, the guys were not in the dorm, in that space where they'd be living, their living quarters, right? And so we had to sort of go down to the we got to go to the basement somewhere, man, and just work. So that's the thing people don't understand, like the work that you have to put in sometimes that doesn't, just to get to this, get to a point where you can actually be productive. Feel me?
Yeah.
And so we didn't understand. Well, we understood, but I'm just saying, it was a journey, and I think we had to negotiate with the sheriff, and in the end, he was pretty cool, and he allowed us. So that's why we're there now. But it took a minute to sort of like really get into the studio that we had built.
Yeah, months.
Months, right?
Yeah, same in Minnesota.
Same in Minnesota. And
Yeah.
so that's another thing. We were actually in the space. We had got everything approved.
Already started recording.
Already started recording. We had recording stuff.
Right.
We had audio. And then they come back and say, we have to start over with the inventory. We need to get everything, better documented, reapproved. We had to change the chords. Anything that was 20 feet had to be 15. Anything that was 5 had to be 3. So it was really one of those things, right? And it was like, and we had to end up getting, I forget her last name, her name is Sophia. She was the deputy commissioner in Minnesota. And once she got involved and understood, what we were trying to do, she was really helpful. So I do want to thank her for that. But it was a journey. But all of them are up and running now, so we feel really confident about it. We're really great. We feel really good with that. So, talk about one of the things that you sort of learn from being in each facility and working with these students and talking to them and understanding them a little bit, because it's just more than just music that we do and programming and things like that. We can't not be in that space and not have a human interaction, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to summarize it exactly, but it's been a lot of meaningful interactions and bonds that have been formed in all three places, and so many talented people, so many talented poets, MCs, beat makers, musicians, singers, instrumentalists, in each of these facilities.
Who sticks out to you? I mean, you don't have to. You can.
So many.
Yeah.
So many. I mean.
Hey, I know, but I know there's some that we've talked to.
Yeah.
And but I hate that. I don't want to. Single anybody out, but just some of the things that you notice in talking to them in terms of like interaction, human interaction.
Well, I mean,
treating them like human beings, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, in this prison in Alabama, a lot of talented MCs, a whole lot of really talented rappers, and lyricists, and so in Boston we met a really great poet, John Fifi.
Yeah, Fifi. Yeah,
also really talented MCs there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Minnesota, it's Minnesota's an older group.
You're right.
I mean, this is a youth detention center, so we're talking 14 to 18,
yeah, something like that.
Mostly 16, 17, 18.
17, 18,
and then Boston is, 18 to 22?
Yeah.
So, and then, but the DOC, at the DOC in Minnesota, we're talking all ages from early 20s
to whatever. And I think
30,
one of the things
40,
that
50, 60.
I think one of the things that we learned in the DOC, where we were at, because each one is different. And for those who don't know, we have a collaborative partner in Minnesota, Minnesota Prison Writing Program, which is headed by Jennifer and Jen. I call her Jen. But the bigger thing in terms of that, Jennifer Bowen, excuse me, and I think they have a really great grasp because they've been doing this work for almost 20 years. So I think when we went into that facility, the guys that we worked with were very versed in literature. We had great conversations. You remember those conversations we had when we were installing, and they let the guys come in and just talk. We played music. They played music. They wrote poems, and it was just an amazing experience. So each one, because DOC, like you said, is a little bit more. It's not, I won't say permanent, but you have longer sentences, right? Yeah. And so you kind of come with a different group because of what's going on there personally. But I think like each one. But I think we understood, like we went to DOC, like if you look at musicianship, guys to play.
Yeah, a lot of musicians.
A lot of musicians already.
And people who already operate
software, all of that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things about that space is it is going to be, self-sufficient. Those guys are going to run that space.
Right.
They're going to, when people, when other people want to come in and use that space, they're going to be the one in control of that. And in terms of like helping people, recording them, doing all kind of things. So I think each one is its own thing. And so we're really, definitely proud of that. So I guess one of the things too, is like, we notice when we're working in that population, like, a lot of these, especially when I'm thinking about Birmingham and maybe even Suffolk, in terms of like, it's just not that simple. We talk about people inside the carceral state who've done things and are in there. And I think a lot of times you can blanketly, just subscribe a definition to that, but that definition does not apply. It just does not.
Right.
I mean, we know from like working here in Jefferson County with these young people, what they came into our space with.
Right.
Some had gunshot wounds. Some had been in this, had been in amazing like things that people probably, I don't say amazing. I mean, I say amazing because it's like, wow, I can't believe that happened, or that's happening, or we allowed that to happen to a system of kids.
Right.
And we don't have any protection for them. And we expect for them to come and almost rehabilitate themselves.
Right.
And they have nowhere to go. And we saw them, even the months that we were here, kids would come. Even the months we were here, kids would come and return. It was like it could be a revolving door sometimes, right? But also, we see their face, their bright faces too.
Yeah.
We see the youth. We see the curiosity. And, it almost makes you wonder, man, how do we treat people to connect with them? Because it's just like a parent. If you're going to continue to like chastise and boom, 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 if you're not loving anybody,
Right.
you're going to create your own system of resentment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well.
And we've talked about this.
Yeah. I mean, a whole different societal approach is really needed to, because prisons don't prevent crime. Police are arriving after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And then the rehabilitation that prisons are supposed to do is often really not happening, and a lot of the crime on the outside that people are going to jail for often happens not necessarily in the prisons we've been in, but a lot of prisons. There's a lot of
we just don't hear about that.
There's a lot of all kinds of crazy things that happen within the prison. So,
right.
Well,
right, and so that's what I'm trying to get to. I think it's not like the system is the system and what happens, but I think we want, because we've met some people in here that are really about change, and they're really invested. I mean, we're not here because of the director, Monique Greer, who definitely is all about these kids, and who genuinely cares.
That's true.
Like it's like, and we know that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I would even, bear to go if we go to Suffolk County and we look at Kenneth Jackson in the peace unit, who would go through any means that he can to sort of provide an opportunity for his guys that he sees in their unit. So there is collaborative points. There are points in which we can build upon and sort of create the thing that we want to see. I think it's not like it's not going to happen overnight, but I think you have to change. You have to start somewhere thinking about these things, right? And you can't think about them unless you're thinking about the outside too, and how we live, how we have to make our way through society as presently constructed, because you have to work, you have to have a system in which you can compete economically just to survive. And when you have people in this situation, to let them out with nothing, like what's going to happen?
Well, we were talking about that too. The plan, and it's coming into fruition in Boston with college credits.
Exactly. Right.
But the plan is to work with people, local, people who have music studios.
Right.
That where once folks get out of prison, they have somewhere to go and continue. Exactly. And because, like you were saying, what various people we've met so far, what they've talked about in their work is often about that struggle they come from, and being born into a situation in a neighborhood where that's, you know, some of the kids were calling Birmingham Little Iraq, you know.
Yeah, and they come from, you know, these places they call the bubble. And
Right.
these sort of insulated communities where they don't have any kind of positive influences for the most part. And they're sort of almost, they boarded off.
Yeah,
They're like in these, encapsulated in these communities in which there's almost no escape.
right. And that's
You know
why,
what I mean?
I guess it was Lil Glock who said that,
Yeah,
was like,
right. I
called
forgot
it,
that.
Little Iraq, you know,
Right.
because of the, obviously because of the, well, because the US government went in there in Iraq and started blowing people up.
Mhm.
But that's the kind of war zone that
That they have to be part of, they have to negotiate
Yeah.
while a kid.
so, and
That's
then
the
we've
thing
also
we
talked
forget. They're
with,
kids.
yeah,
Right.
kids.
They're kids.
Yeah, and then, you know, they might join a gang because the gang offers a family kind of support,
a
a
support
form of,
system, a form of a system of
Yeah.
comfort, feeling like you're part of something.
Right.
When you know you're not, and you don't feel like part of like the spirit of, like, dare I say, Western civilization. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, you don't feel that spirit that everyone's talking about. And you know, it's just like when we were here a while back, and we were working with one of the girls, and I was doing a workshop, and we asked them to imagine something beautiful. And the girl raised her hand, and she said, "But what if you don't know nothing beautiful? How you gonna write about that?" You know what I'm saying? So it's always interesting like that. But one of the things that, you know, like you said, we understand that, and that's why we're trying to really, you know, in the next couple of years expand. We have a whole project, you know, where we probably install, I think, 6 more studios. But each one of them, we get it now that we have to provide, like a studio, like this is great, but we need a proponent to this on the outside.
right,
Because once they leave, and as many of them said, everything I've ever wanted to do is right here, literally in front of me, and I had to go to prison to get it.
right.
That's probably something right there. But, and they just, and you know, and just for context, I'll let our listeners know that the director, Ms. Greer, she's always said that this place is a sacred place, meaning that wherever these kids come from in their bubbles and their cliques and their gangs and whatever that is, when they get in here, they don't do none of that. None of that. Because they understand that this is something greater. And, well, I'll be damned, they may even collaborate. How about that? You know what I mean? And so we've seen all of these things happen, and we know that things can change. But we gotta provide the other arm to this, to reach them when they come outside. And you know, I'm just going to put this out there for our listeners. If you feel like you want to donate to the Radical Reversal project, please go to our website, radicalreversal.org, and you can find, first of all, please peruse our installations, and we've highlighted each facility in terms of audio, Zoom, poetry readings, and all things like that. But you can find a place where if you want to monetarily support the work that we do, please, visit our website and make yourself at home. But getting back, if you had to talk about one thing that you learned in this experience, D, what would that be?
I mean, it's not as if I wasn't. It's not like I discovered anything that I wasn't like. Let me put it this way: like I was expecting to meet a whole lot of brilliant, talented people, and I don't. I'm meeting a lot of beautiful people.
We met some very
Haji,
we can name them.
Lucius.
And you see them.
Emery,
We know the names, and and so we can sit there all day and call them. Yeah.
So many.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would like to give out so many. Give so many shout outs. I don't want to leave anyone out, but so many.
That's why I asked the readers to go to our website and look, because we highlight the audio. One of the things we want to do is create a digital archive of all the music that we do. And one of the things that and our part of our mission is we meet them in the languages that they practice. And we don't come in trying to tell them what to do. I think that would be the wrong approach.
No.
We can't.
I mean, we do talk sometimes.
We talk about things, but we have to let them do their thing.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll talk about, like, if the lyrics, people call it murder music. Like a lot of hip hop is obviously geared towards that, and the record labels push that, and
that's what they know. They think that that's going to put them, even if they're not even involved in their life, they're still going to talk about it. And that's some of the things that we've been trying to sort of get them to sort of. That's why I asked the girl to imagine something beautiful and all the ugly that she's seen. I know she hadn't seen anything beautiful. I wasn't not on the illusion, but the idea to not imagine it, because we know the imagination is very powerful. That's what we are. We're creative souls. Yeah. And so our imagination inform how we are, how we operate, how we get down, right? So I think, and which is I think what you touched on too is actually sort of symbolic of what graphical reversal sort of is exemplifies in terms of we put recording studios and creative spaces and we do all of that, but at the core of it, we're trying to create better human beings. We're trying to create human beings, and that's saying that there aren't, but we're trying to give them a way to think about themselves in a way that they haven't had the opportunity to think about themselves. And, I think because we know what worked for us, and that's the creative outlets that we have. We have many. Right. And that may be the thing that keep us sane in all the chaos, right? But it does. And I think because we can imagine. And so that's what we want them to do. And so, we learned that everyone's not going to be a rapper, everyone's not going to be an artist and things like that. I want them in this space to sort of see how we are, see, how people can interact, collaborate, treat each other with respect, and be human beings. Right. And that's my whole thing with that. So I think we're going to, I think we're going to continue on this journey. And it's just, it's just, for me, it's another, but out of all the things that I've done, and I don't, I don't know about all, but I've published and I've, done this and done that. But I understand, for me, this is probably one of the most important things that I may ever do. It just is. Right. You got to have a willingness for this. This is not nothing, romantic or you going off and putting studio. This is hard work, and I want people to understand that. And we take on. Sometimes when we meet these people, we can't help the human side of us to feel for them, to want to help them, especially when they're reaching out for help. Right. See what I'm saying? Yeah, man. So I think with that, we're going to kind of wrap up. But one of the things we want to do, behind the scenes, we have our program manager, Najaya Royal. She's in the background saying, say hello. And also, again, there she go. We have to thank the director of Birmingham, Jefferson County Youth Detention Center, Ms. Monique Greer, for being very gracious to allow us to come in and do this. We definitely thank her, and we appreciate the collaboration we in with her. Again, the University of Haven, thank you for your undying support and for what you've done, and to even have us here today. So we appreciate that. And also, I'm just going to give. And Walter Jackson. There you go. Walter Jackson was very instrumental. He was working for the county when we came to do all this. He was a very instrumental in getting all this together. So we want to send a shout out to Walter Jackson, right? And again, I'm gonna just throw this up to the Poetry Foundation. We appreciate you for all that you've done for us. And with that, we want to say everyone have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year, right? All right.
I fell in love at 14, I still miss her. Got shy when I kissed her, and she was always there when I first lost my sister. And I was always there, so she called me her hitter. And I won't try to lie, I still think about her all the time. Memories of me and her in my mind. Traumatized, that she don't care and I don't even cross her mind. Toxic, shaking in my sleep, I try to stop it. Watch my sister die, that's how it started. I admit I was so dishonest. Just please admit you was being heartless. Would you believe me if I said I changed? Moments I done cried in the rain. I will never leave if you came. Call me when you need me, like the way you say my name. At 14 I was all in the streets. Mama said come home, I stayed out for weeks. Lord knows she wasn't getting no sleep. At 18 I caught my first charge. They said I would never get out or go far. I knew I could never let go, it was too hard. Why they call you lost boy, I was far gone. Please just say you miss me, it's been too long.
It's been too long.
Nah, it stopped.
So you could have still kept it out.
Nah, I didn't know, Vivian. I didn't know I could have.